Hi, I'm that weird English teacher, and here's the bestie. All right, so we just finished week 4, and
Sometimes your week is not always going to be sunshine. So let's talk about it.
mm-hmm. So normally we start with highs, we move on to lows, we go into unhinged moments. This week, honestly, we both kind of struggled to see the highs, but we really felt the lows.
Yeah. So sometimes those lows can really get to you. Like you start to blame yourself if things don't go the way that you want them to go in your classroom. And it's really easy, I know, for us in particular, to blame ourselves and to internalize that failure and put it completely on ourselves. And like, I'm a failure. I'm a terrible teacher. I suck. The children would be better off without me. And that's not true.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's like we kind of had to really pull back, reevaluate, sleep on things, and had to remind ourselves that we can't crucify ourselves for everything because a large part of our kids' success is on them as well. So, I mean,
You have I feel like, especially with upper level grades when you're teaching, a lot of the times the kids do not get taught responsibility when they're at home, unfortunately. So it kind of is up to the teacher, especially in high school and middle school, to teach them accountability for themselves. Like your grades are dependent on whether or not you study. It's dependent on whether or not you pay attention. When we have like formatives and assessments and they don't turn out the way that we want data wise, they have to learn that sometimes it's not always on us. Sometimes it's just because you don't have accountability for yourself and the things that you're doing to prepare for those things. Because we forewarn them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't prepare themselves, that's not on us. That's on them.
So then you have to think, okay, well, what are the silver linings to that type of failure? And, for the most part, decent reception to that failure, because for both of us, our formatives were Tuesday or Wednesday for respectively 9th and 11th. And there was a significant amount of failures all around. And so for the following 2 days, when things started getting a little chaotic, you had to bring them in and be like, okay, you're not sitting well. So you're going to need to lock it in and focus if you want that grade to go up, because progress reports are being released next week. And they did kind of rein themselves in after seeing that failure. And, in a way, it was kind of like this little comment that I threw out there to my 11th graders, like, you know what, you can't spell learning without L, you got to take those L's. And luckily enough, I mean, it really was kind of a wake-up call. So sometimes you need that failure. Sometimes they need the failure. Sometimes we need the failure to reevaluate and determine, are we the problem? Do we need to adjust and accommodate for them? Or do we need to, almost like the parent, accept the fact that they need those consequences every now and then?
I feel like, especially for 9th graders, they have to learn this is not middle school.
Mm-hmm.
High school is a completely different world. And being self-efficient is very important when it comes to high school, and making time for things you need to make time for and making your priorities and figuring out what your priorities are is very important, especially like laying that foundation in 9th grade. Because when they do experience those failures and they're freaking out and they're expecting like more opportunities that they got in middle school, it's like, no, sweetie, this is high school. We don't do that here.
Nope.
So your L is your L, and we move on, and you do better next time. There is no do-over.
Right.
They're like, can I retake? I had so many questions. Can I retake this? No.
That's
not a thing.
Or are you curving this? No. Raw grades are going in.
No.
Like I said, the grade you got is the grade you earned, and we're going to have to sit with that. And you use that as a learning opportunity. I mean, like, you have to ask yourselves, what am I doing on my end that's getting in the way of my success?
I think, even though, yes, on a side note, even though, yes, the kids need to learn responsibility and like taking accountability for themselves, sometimes like we may play a part in the failure. For me, specifically this week, I made a formative for 10th grade that was entirely too hard. I teachered too close to the sun, if you will. Like those questions, they were way too in depth. They were way too ambiguous, and like they were not ready for the depth of thought that I was just chucking them into that ocean of a passage, and like, think deeper, boom, and everyone failed. Across 2 class periods, everybody failed. I think I had maybe 2 kids that passed by the skin of their teeth. And I had to take responsibility for that. And I actually went back and I apologized to them. Because it's like, when you're wrong, you're wrong. And I have no problem admitting that I'm wrong. And I'm like, that was too hard. And I made that too hard. And I'm sorry. And I remade it. And I made it over again. And I made it simpler. It was still standards based. But I was meeting them where they were at. And the result was a lot better, a lot cleaner. And by the end of it, everyone was happy with what they had. And I was happy too, because it actually reflected at the level that I had been teaching. I was too ambitious. But it's like, that's also part of it. It's like, when you're wrong, don't be afraid to admit that you're wrong. Like, apologize when you're wrong, fix it and move on. Like, don't dwell. And I did dwell for a little bit. I was like, I'm a terrible teacher. I'm never going to try and make a formative ever again. I'm not doing this ever again.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, try to talk her down. And it's like that. But as long as you have to be, in order to be a good teacher, you have to be open to reevaluating yourself and whether or not you are teaching at the best level for your students. You're doing what you need to for them, because no, it's not customer service, but like, we are there for their success. So, I mean, I doubted myself too. And then I talked to the other 11th grade teacher, and ultimately, actually, initially, it really seemed like I had a lot more failures too. But then again, it's the ones who finished before the others on one hand, and then reevaluating the grades, putting them in, there weren't actually as many failures with that 11th grade formative. And I know for a fact we had covered everything. Like, some of the stuff they struggled with, those were 3 to 4 days worth of lesson. Like, we covered that stuff. But I was open, and I almost got with a student who's like, well, can't you let us retake this, that, or whatever? And but then I discussed with the other teacher, and we're like, no, we had too many who were still successful. I'm not going to undermine that when clearly we know we've been doing what we need to do. But you have to be open to that.
Yeah.
Period.
Be open to evaluating yourself without throwing yourself completely under the bus. Like, if you make a mistake, acknowledge your mistake and move on. Like, yeah, like, I'm the teacher. I'm supposed to be the smartest person in the room. I mess up too. Acknowledge it and move on. Do better next time. Just like I tell the kids that if we have like a butting of heads one day, I'm like, this isn't going to work. This is not meshing today. You need to get out, da, 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 da. That doesn't mean I'm going to write a referral. It's just, I need a break from you. You need a break from me before things get too out of hand. We're going to try again tomorrow. And you got to have grace. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace.
And boom. And that's, I think, the theme of today's or this week's episode for real, because we really struggled with giving ourselves grace. Yeah. Earlier in the week, like another one of my lows was I realized I was essentially being played by a student. And that really took me down for a second. Like, that really became disheartening, because this year I've really been intentionally focused on, I don't even know how you would say it, but just being as calm and understanding of a presence, like really creating that atmosphere.
Being self-aware and not letting your emotions run you.
Right. And so I know for a fact because the past couple of videos I've mentioned, you know, those students, like that situation with phone, grades, stress, that. And so one of those students, you know, I know for a fact I've been nothing but fair. I've been nothing but understanding. And then to realize like I was kind of being played, it really kind of took a hit. And I'm like, well, dang, you know, this is what I get for, what did I say that one day where it's like, this is what you get for being like the goody or something. I don't know. Like
tiny crash out.
Not in front of the kids.
No.
Like
during lunch,
tiny crash. But Bestie, being the bestie she is, could see right through it and was like, okay, these angry words are her hurt.
They're just words. She don't mean what she's saying.
I was a baddie with the saddies.
She don't mean what she's saying. And I told her, don't throw away the great foundation that you have built, the great vibes that you have created in your classroom with the vast majority. Don't throw all of that away over one kid that's being a butt face.
And I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't. I'm proud that I didn't. And I'm proud that never once have I changed with that student. Like, I know I've struggled to see the highs, but like now that the week's done, I'm actually really proud that I've never changed my positivity and like openness to this student. Like, okay, they've kind of been manipulating me, but I had a really great talk with their parent, which also, side note, I don't know, I've had a lot of really great, as teachers, we see a problem where parents have stopped being parents and are just wanting to be best friends with their kids. This semester, I've come across a lot of really great parents and parent figures. I'm grateful for that. So I had a great exchange with that student's mom. And it was very established. Like, she knew without a doubt, I am on their student side. Oh, whoops. She knew without a doubt, I am on their student side. And I've made it clear to that student, you know, I'm also in support of mom, because there's been a couple of days since, like, you know, once there's little improvement, it's like, okay, can you call and text and let them know that I've been doing good, because it's been 2 days and I need my phone back. No. And I've been like, so that would maybe be like the slightest unhinged moment. Other than that, it's been lows. I don't really have unhinged, but like, can you text? I'm like, no, you need to let your good behavior marinate, because 2 days is not enough. I'm on mom's side. No, please. I did text mom Friday though and was like, their behavior's improved. They've done really well on all the formatives. And then she texted back, like, thank you so much for the update. You just made my day. So keep in contact with those parents, new teachers, whatever, but even veteran teachers, if you just need the reminder, whatever. It's so important.
But on that note, I've also noticed, like, in the past years, I've used that app we use to text parents. But this year, I haven't even used it this year. I've actually just been calling people's parents and actually talking to them voice to voice. And I feel like
she's so brave.
I know. That's why I was using the text messages, because I was afraid to talk to people's parents, because I was afraid of like a bad reaction. But I guess, I don't know, since I hit 10-year, I don't care anymore. But I've been calling people's parents and like talking to them. And I feel like it's so much more impactful when you're actually having a conversation
That's true.
with their parents versus a disembodied text message where they don't really get the effect or the depth of what you're trying to say. I feel like
true.
put your big girl, big boy pants on and just call people's parents. The worst they can do is cut you out. At the end of the day, that's the worst they can do. They can't fire you. They can't endanger your job unless you say something crazy.
And it's almost never going to be as scary. She's completely right, because I was terrified. That one parent I just said that I was in contact with, I was so remember, I was like,
she was very anxious,
almost a full anxiety attack.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't know what to expect because of the kids' behavior. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why sometimes I try to tell them, like, act in a way that you're like representing your home well, because your behavior kind of shapes what I think I need to expect.
Yeah. And a lot of the time it's not.
Yeah.
A lot of the time it's the complete opposite. They're putting on a front for their friends or for their peers, and they're just showing out so that they can save face. But that's not actually the way they are at home, and that's usually not the way that they were raised.
Yeah.
So I feel like talking to the parent early on, when it first happens, don't just let it go on.
Right. Talk
to the parent early on so that they are aware that their kid is showing out and acting like they don't have any sense. So that it can, because you do have parents that will like yank those reins and pull their kid in. You just have to make them aware, especially with ninth graders.
Yes.
Those parents I have found are so much more, they give such a more positive reception,
really,
to being told what's going on with their kid, because they're younger and they're still in that young phase. They're afraid of their parents, especially their moms most of the time, and they want to be aware of what their kid is doing, because they just came out of middle school and they're now in big kid school. They're in high school now. So I feel like, especially with ninth graders, their parents want to know, how are they doing? How are they acting? If there's an issue, let me know. Because high school comes with higher stakes.
Mm-hmm.
And like punishment comes with higher stakes. It's like ISS one time messes up all of your chances to exempt your finals for every single class. So parents want to know, so that they can try and swoop in and save their kid early on, especially with ninth graders. They want to know what's happening.
And they have a right to know. You have to think, like, how can they possibly help correct the situation in time if they're not informed? How can the kids possibly know what to fix if we wait until the last minute to dump grades or contact parents or do whatever we need to do? The field requires a level of urgency and early initiative, in order for all parts to succeed as efficiently as possible.
So it's like, if you notice like bad behavior, address it with the parents early on. Like, it's the first month. Address it early on. Like that day I called 10 parents. It was only the second week of school. Address it early on. It's like, I don't know where you came from. I don't know what you did in middle school, but we're in high school now, and this ain't that. We're not doing that here. But like, just letting them know early on, because a lot of times when they're older, they're too far gone. And a lot of times their parents think they're too far gone when they have jobs and they have cars. And
that's what I found interesting listening to you, because like for me, for several years now, I've taught mostly just like 9th and 10th. Not that I haven't taught all grades, but like it's been a second since I've taught the upper classes. But you have more recent experience. So it's interesting to hear the difference of parent reception across the levels.
Like, for context, the past 4 years, I've been teaching 11th and 12th grade only. Like, this is my first year ever teaching freshmen. And it has been a ride. It has been a ride. Like, the maturity level, the difference in maturity is astonishing. Like, I'm shocked, honestly. But it's not a bad thing. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. Hey. It's just an adjustment. It's just an adjustment to the way that I teach, and it's an adjustment to the way that I interact with them. I cannot interact with a freshman the way I interact with my seniors.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. So it's been very eye-opening for me. And I know over the summer I was dreading my freshman classes, but I'm actually grateful for it because I feel like it's making me a better teacher overall. Because it's like it's stretching my range of what I'm able to do and the way that I teach content. And I'm actually thankful that they gave me ninth grade because I just feel like I'm getting better.
Don't you feel like they're entertaining though, despite the immaturity?
They're weird.
When I started, they are, but it's so fun. Okay, yeah. When I first started teaching, I remember like in my interview, you know, when they ask you like, what grades would you prefer? I'm like, honestly, 11th or 12th. And after a year or two, I'm like, give me the 9th and 10th graders, honestly, because like you said, 11th, 12th, they are, I don't want to say they're too far gone, but kind of, because they're in that mode, like I'm almost done, none of this matters. They get lazy. But 9th and 10th, they really are. They're discovering themselves. But they still have so much of that childness in them that it's really entertaining.
And you can tell, like, a lot of the things that they say is just a front. Like, they just want to look cool in front. They just want their peers to like them. Mm-hmm. And it's just so interesting to observe. Because, like, if after, like, you teach your lesson, and no, we're supposed to teach bell to bell and whatnot. Not that I don't, but but I do find in our break times or like when we're just talking before class starts, it's so interesting to observe them among themselves. Like the little cliques that they form, the way that they interact with each other, and like group of boys will make a group of girls start screaming at them, and it's like, I know they're just flirting, but do they know?
The children and the mating rituals.
I know. I'm just like, it's just so interesting to observe because it's like, do you even know what you're doing?
Some of them know too much too, because like,
for real,
man, I'm sorry, but I don't even want to sound old, but like, it just wasn't like that, man. I wasn't allowed to do half the stuff that they're allowed to do. So listening to their stories, it's like, they be making me blush.
Like, I'll do too much. Oh no, I didn't tell you the other day. Side note, sorry. The other day, I had a 10th grade girl, 15 years old, and she was talking about, I guess this is my unhinged moment, 15 years old, talking about how her toes are so sexy now because she got a pedicure. And I'm like, what? I said, what did you say? And she was like, look, miss, look at my sexy toes. And I'm like, first of all, you're 15 years old. You're cute at best. There is nothing about you that is sexy at 15 years old. You're cute. I'll even say beautiful, but you're not sexy. There's nothing sexy about you when you're 15 years old. Stop saying that about yourself. And I had to put on my mom voice. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yes, ma'am. I'm like, stop. They want to grow up so bad.
They really do.
And it's like, stay a child for as long as you can. Just stop.
You want nonstop bills? You want to get paid and see it disappear within an instant? Is that what you want? Ultimately, yeah. So I hope this wasn't negative. I hope this was eye-opening to see, because I think it is valuable for other teachers or even outside the educational, spectrum to see that not every week is going to feel like a win. I feel like I can, after the week's done, see little wins, but not every week is going to feel like a win. Some days, some weeks, you're going to feel like a failure, and that's okay, but you need to give yourself grace.
That is the takeaway. Give yourself grace. And like what they teach you in teacher school, it's not lies, but you don't really understand until you're in the trenches, until you're in the middle of it. You do not understand. And it's one thing to talk about it and all of these scenarios that may never happen or might happen 1 out of 3 years. You don't understand until you're in the middle of it. But you're going to have lows. You're going to have highs. You're going to have days where you hide in your classroom and you cry when your kids aren't around, and that is okay. Like, remember that is okay. It happens. It will happen, and that is okay. But you need to give yourself grace and continue because it will get better.
Manifestations for next week.
To take my time with the formatives and things that I create, because a lot of times when you want to teach something, a lot of times it only exists in your brain, and you have to make it yourself, and we know that very well. That sometimes you have to make things yourself, and just taking my time and making them to the best of my ability, but also taking into account who it's for, and not just making things like, oh, this is great, that we could understand, but actually making it on a level that the kids would actually be able to do it and be successful with it. Because just like we need wins every once in a while, they need wins too in order to stay motivated.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
That's good.
That's what
for me, I am manifesting growth, like visible growth in their summatives next week. And like you said, I don't know, what you said, like they need wins too. We have projects coming up, just really being the guiding force that they need, and the facilitator that they need to see their own success. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Boom. All right. Favorite time. Shake it out.